So now you've read Kozel, you've done all this investigation. Now, so what? What does it all mean? What does it all matter? And you'll be taking all of that information and constructing this big picture about what you found using your investigation and the readings from your book together to piece together this overall conclusion. And you are going to be posting it inside of a discussion board since all of you are reading and investigating different things. I think it's important to see, okay, well, what did the other students find? Are they finding similar things in the other districts? Something maybe a little bit different than what you found. But what are you doing with all this information? Well, kind of the big picture, like we talked about, is, are some of these disparities still existing? Are we still seeing a segregation of student body? Are we seeing that primarily urban districts are primarily one race, where other districts are primarily another race? So are we seeing segregation still happen? Are we seeing that there are disparities based on race and teacher education experience? So that's kind of your big question. Kozel laid it out there for you and showed you here's what he's seeing in these districts and in these schools in these urban and suburban areas back in the 80s and 1970s. So are you still seeing the same things? And that's kind of the overall question you're trying to answer. But I want you to do it in the format of a compare and contrast. So if you're saying, yeah, man, there are still major school disparities based on race, here's how I want you to do it. Yeah, there is. Okay. So here's kind of what Kozel found. He found that there were school disparities based on race in these areas. And I found the same thing when I was looking at Austin ISD and Lake Travis in these areas. So in order to compare what you're finding, you also have to contrast. That's why you did the double bubble at the beginning. That's why you're looking at two districts now, because you're putting together a picture through saying, okay, here's how they compare, but here's also how they're different. If we're seeing that Lake Travis is this way, here's what I'm seeing over here in Austin ISD. And man, Kozel's found the same thing when he was looking at his two schools as well. So you're using Kozel as kind of that introductory or as that evidence or support of what you're finding inside the investigation. Now, let's say you're not finding school disparities based on race at all. All right, well then kind of tell me, what did Kozel see and what are some of those changes? What are some of those differences that we're seeing now in the ISDs? Where are we differing in that fact? Maybe where have we come along? We've come a little bit better. So that's what you're trying to do is not just tell me data. You can't just say Austin ISD is this and Lake Travis is this. Okay, I can go look up statistics, but what is that telling me? What is the bigger picture? What is the aha? What's the big theme going on? What should I get out of those numbers? What is it telling me about race and achievement, if anything at all? And so I'm looking for your finding, your overall analysis of that, not just here's statistic 1, here's statistic 2, here's statistic 3, here's statistic 4, here's a quote from Kozel, and I'm done. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you kind of thinking big picture and then providing the evidence that demonstrates you are backing up your claim of what you found. So you're going to put that together inside of a discussion board, and basically you're putting together two main paragraphs for me. So one is, one sentence about your thesis. Here's what I'm seeing, and here's aspect 1. Here's, to back up that, and here's aspect 2 to back it up again. And then you'll respond to the other classmates just like you do in the other discussion board postings about what they found to try to carry the conversation forward. So I did provide a handout in here for you that kind of explains how to, put together a compare contrast. And I'll also put together one little paragraph of an example from a previous student that you can use as a little bit of a guide about what I'm looking for about how you combine that Kozel and that investigative reporting into one cohesive paragraph.